This is week 2 of Building Giig, the Devlog series where I'm taking you through my day by day of building recruitment software and how our tiny team is attempting to compete with the Goliaths of the industry. Okay, so Devlog 2, and it's Tuesday already, 10 past 5 now. So it's at the end of the day on Tuesday, and this is the first video I'm making for this vlog. So yesterday we had a power cut. It kind of was between maybe 11 and 3, I think. So it was a good chunk of the day that disappeared, and with a lot of the work that I'm doing, it requires constant connection to the internet. So there was very limited of stuff I could do. So I did some bits offline, and then that was kind of it, really. Kind of had to just wait until the power came back on. There wasn't much else I could do. So that was somewhat wasted. And now all I did do was record the intro, which you've already watched, and then I pressed record to do this video, and power went. So it's now Tuesday afternoon, and I'm kind of playing catch up, so that's why this video is late, and I'm kind of just rushing to get something recorded. Okay, to start the week then, we go through our list. So this currently is the to-do list for this week. Hopefully we move on to the CV formatting and branding. It looks like it's going to be tomorrow I can start and kind of have a full day at it. As mentioned in last week's video, I think I did 15 support tickets and 13 remain, and that's still the same. Over the course of the weekend, there was a ton of fixing that took place. A ton of testing that took place. So there's a number of bugs there that need fixing. There's an email issue that is urgent that needs to be done for a user, and sending CV with automated emails, which fits nicely in with our task for this week. So when it comes to this list, like I said, it's 10 past 5 on a Tuesday. So I've actually made big progress on this already. I've solved this issue with the user. I actually did that yesterday, pre-power cut. And then bug fixing, that was kind of what I had left of yesterday and today. Bug fixing from testing is complete as well. Obviously now that will go back into testing those tickets. So there could be more bugs from that, or hopefully if I've done my job right, they will all pass, and then the moment that passes we can then push that up, so that's not a problem. So the big plan, I suppose, for this week is the CV formatting. Like, we tried to start it last week and completely failed, but I mean, tomorrow's going to be Wednesday, and hopefully we can go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at full speed into that and actually make some good progress, because nothing's getting done. It's Wednesday, and we're finally going to get started on our CV formatting feature. So first off, before we start any feature, we're going to have to do a little bit of planning. This helps kind of me and the other guys to align on ideas a little bit. So what happens is we have a shared ticket board where I'll write up a couple of tickets, Luke will write up a couple of tickets, and then we'll come together and we'll kind of merge our ideas to kind of say this is what we're going to get done for this feature. And both of us doing it kind of separately and then discussing it is a really good way for us to collaborate on ideas. But also there's like a lot in my head where I'm like, this is the way I'm going to build it, or this is a feature I want to build. And then when I actually talk to Luke and get his ideas, I realised that like his idea is way better, or way simpler than the way I was going to think about it. So first off then, just a little sketch of what we need to think about in this feature. So what happens to begin with is we get a recruiter to upload a CV, and then as they upload that, we then do a process called parsing. And what that basically means is we pass it through, or we send it through an extraction tool that gets it out in blocks. So then we get loads of different blocks about the CV out. These could be the name, an email address, it could be the skills, experience, like any information you might find in a CV. This parse process extracts that data and saves it into different places into the database. And what that allows us then to do is we create the candidate record. And we piece all that back together as plain text for the user to see on the front end as a candidate record. Now what we're going to do with this feature is, obviously we're displaying it in our own way, but when the recruiter at the moment, when they go to send that CV off, it's sending it in the format in which they uploaded it. And that could be like they get a CV from somebody's LinkedIn profile, it could be from an Indeed profile, it could be a CV that somebody sent to them. So the format of the CV is not the same per candidate and can look unprofessional sometimes, and it could also contain a lot of information that the recruiter doesn't want to send, i.e. the contact information, the email address and phone number. So what we're going to do with this formatting is we're going to do two things. We're going to send it over here to create so we're going to send it this way to create a formatted CV, or some people might say this is a branded CV. So we're going to allow the person to use their logo, perhaps like put their logo on it, use their colors along here, and we'll have like a couple of templates where it'll inject all this information that we've parsed into this formatting tool to generate a branded CV. And that means that every CV will be exactly the same that the person sends out. Now, as a recruiter as well, you want to hide the important information. So you want to hide the information where it might meant that a person would be able to circumvent you and contact the candidate without you, basically. So what we're going to do at the same time is we're going to do a redacted version. So in this version, again, it will pull all this same information, even with the branding and stuff like that over here. But in this redacted version, we're going to miss out things like the name. So we'll take out the name, we'll take out the email address, we'll take out anything that meant that you could identify who this candidate is. And then what we'll then be able to achieve is we'll have three CVs. We'll have this original CV that somebody uploaded, we'll have this formatted CV or branded CV, and we'll have this redacted CV. So each candidate now will have three CVs, and then when we go to send automated emails, or when somebody goes to send an email to a contact, they'll then get the choice of which CV they want to select. So let's say they select the redacted one, that will then send with the email. But sometimes they might want to send the branded one, and they could select that with the email, or the original one and send that with the email. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting all those thoughts down into text and creating tickets on Shortcut. And then once I finish this process, I'll ping the link over to Luke, who will take a look and create his own tickets, and then that's when we'll go through and collaborate and then come up with a final plan. Right, it's the end of the day on Thursday then. I've managed to have kind of the rest of Wednesday and a whole day today working on the CV formatting feature, and I think I've made some pretty good progress. So I'll walk you through where I'm at with it now. So I've just fired up a test candidate, Steve Wozniak. It's kind of like a test CV, just so we can do it, and this is kind of the CV in here. And then I've just added this little tab here, formatted, just so I can work on it. I don't suppose that they'll remain like that. Like, I'm sure that I'll come up with some other smart idea, but for now that's good enough. And I mean, all this is going to just look ugly until kind of we work out what it's going to look like. But right now we're working towards functionality and making sure it works good, and also is a feature that's going to be useful. So we come into the formatted. This is the CV, and I've just pulled through all the pieces of information basically from the CV and displayed them on the screen here. And then on this right hand side I've got layout. Now these colors don't do anything, but you can see like there's this color bar at the top here, and then the text color and things like that, and then these skills and tags will be like little pill shapes. So using these controls down the side, the idea is that you'll be able to change the color of the background, the text color, the color of the pills, the color of icons, things like that, and have full control over those things. I've then added these 3 controls at the top here. So we've got layout 1, which is just like this. It's like your logo in the top, and then the CV underneath, which is kind of like the branded CV that we were talking about. And then layout 2, which is very similar, but adds the person's like main information inside the color background as well. And then layout 3, which kind of has this split view, so it puts the person's information on the left and then their CV information on the right. So there are 3 kind of standard CV layouts for that. So what I want is just people to have control, so they'll be able to choose one of the 3 layouts using these color options down the side here. They'll then have the ability to change the color and style it to their brand and things like that. Now in this bit as well, I've got like these controls here. So if you wanted to hide some pieces of information, like you don't want the tags, you don't want to display the education, or even the skills, like then you can kind of customize the CV to what you want it to do, or what you want it to look like, basically. So it could be quite custom. That's kind of the point. It's customized. So that's basically the function, or that's basically the functionality I've built so far. This settings stuff here, I've made this so it's like per CV, so you'd be able to come in and change it per CV. But the idea would be that these would be in the settings as well, so you could go and set defaults, and then the default branding and colors will always be there across your CVs, and then you can come and customize them per CV if you wanted to. So that's where it's at the moment. I think relatively good progress made today, and we'll have another crack at it all day tomorrow, so we can see where we get to then. Right, it's Friday and today hasn't gone to plan at all. So I did a little bit more with the CV formatting from yesterday, and then Luke found a bug basically with registering, and trying to debug that took all day. So if I just take you through then what I did do, the changes to the CV formatter. So like all I've done here is I've got this recruiter note section. Yesterday it wasn't working, but now if you start typing, you can see that it brings in this recruiter note section, and you can make this like as many paragraphs as you like, and it will add this recruiter note. And then when you start typing that, this button becomes active, and you can turn it off and on again. So that's the only thing I've added. So for example, when this is empty, this is disabled. Like you can't click it because it doesn't exist, and obviously it's not on the CV. But then as soon as you start adding the notes, it comes back to life. Still a little bit buggy, but I've spent about 20 minutes on this today, unfortunately, and that's as far as I've got. So with the issue then that Luke found, basically what was happening is he was trying to register a brand new account to run a test, and at the moment he kind of signed in, it would then log him out as a session failed. Now the error itself has plagued the system for a while, and at the start of this week I kind of fixed it. I was like, I'm playing around with the CV formatting thing, and I kept hitting this session bug that shouldn't be happening. So I went looking and thought I found a fix for it. Basically, I went looking and I was like, oh, that shouldn't be like that, and changed it, and it seemed to fix the problem I was having. And actually, that caused a chain reaction and broke the registration and broke login. But because I was working on CV formatting, I kind of never went through those processes, so I never saw that those bits were broken. So essentially that tiny change, which fixed the issue I was having, broke the login and register. Now I couldn't go back and just undo the bug that I'd found previously, like just undo the line of code that I added before, because the line of code I added before actually fixed the problem. So what this was is actually, like, whilst I fixed the problem, I unearthed another problem, or Luke found the other problem. So pressing undo on that fix wouldn't have actually been a fix. The issue was rooted much deeper than I kind of thought it was. So basically I've spent all day today deep diving into that, debugging each line of code basically to see where it starts to break, and I think I've finally come up with the solution, and hopefully that will improve the integrity of the product. So all in all, a super disappointing day. Super disappointing week, really. I feel like since I've turned the camera on, this is the end of the second week, and I don't really feel like I've progressed much, and I feel like I've probably been down in the dumps for a lot of the recordings. So we learn from it anyway. We'll move on. Hopefully next week will be a better week, and I don't know, maybe I'm just a bad developer, maybe I'm just make some silly mistakes. All in all, just a very disappointing week, disappointing fortnight, really. Made zero progress on what I need to make progress on. Yeah. Still, we keep going. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I've got a bit of time left today, but I'm just going to use that time to kind of get my head down and just make as much progress as I can on bits, and not worry about filming for the rest of the day now. So I'm going to sign off for the week. At any point, if you've got a question, then you can put them in the comments and I'll answer them. If you start your comment with "Hey James," then I'll film a reply and I'll put it in a video. So please do that if you've ever thought of a question whilst watching this, and if you've got this far, thank you very much. If you want to see the guys that I work with, that's Luke and Andy. They do a weekly podcast called Giighire. I'll put the link in the description. And apart from that, thanks for following me through this week. We'll do it again next.